Good morning, everyone. I think this is the end of the June 5-day session. So I appreciate people who, I don't know how many people sat, but I appreciate their practice. As usual, I continue to talk on this book, Opening the Hand of Thought. Today I start page 164, number 5. This chapter 8, is based on Uchiyama Roshi's final lecture at Antaiji. The day before he left Antaiji, that was on Sunday, he gave a long lectures, more than 2 hours. So this is a long lecture, but this is one lecture. So and he talked about 7 points he kept in his mind to keep Antaiji, his temple, in a sincere practice place. And he kept those 7 points in mind. And when he retired, he wanted to transmit those 7 points to his disciples. That is what he's talking this. At that time, I think we had almost or more than 100 people in a small room. But in the beginning of this lecture, he said, now today I'm going to talk to my disciples. So visitors or lay people, he asked those visitors to listen to my talk to my disciples. So basically these 7 items was a point he wished to transmit to his disciples. And this is 1975, 50 years ago. That means I was 27. So after he retired, I went to Zuyoji to do Ango for 6 months and went to Massachusetts. And when we practiced at Valezendo in Massachusetts, we translated these 7 points and put that print in the frame and hung in the entrance of the Zendo. So these 7 points is a kind of the things we also try to continue from Uchiyama Roshi. Anyway, so this is one lecture. So each point, he didn't speak so much. For example, in this section, number 5, maybe he talked only about 10 minutes or so. So in order to fully understand what he wanted to try to talk, we have to think about his teachings in general. Anyway, let me read paragraph by paragraph. Section 5, the point is realizing that development and backsliding are your responsibility alone. Endeavor to practice and develop. So basically what he is saying is we cannot rely on others. And that teaching is not from Uchiyama Roshi personally, but from Shakyamuni Buddha. In that Stanipata, Shakyamuni said, to rely on others is not is to be unstable, or to be rely on others is shaky, because when others changes, I have to change. So we cannot find a stable foundation of our lives. So this is not Uchiyama Roshi's personal teaching, but it's from almost from the beginning of the history of Buddhism. Anyway, to talk about this point, Uchiyama Roshi quote one sentence from Dogen's Tenzo Kyokun. I think you already know Tenzo Kyokun. Tenzo is a cook. I think you already know. And Kyokun both means teachings or instructions. So this Tenzo Kyokun is a writing. This is a part of Eihei Shingi. So this is part of regulations. But in these regulations, he is writing, especially Tenzo Kyokun is very, not sound like regulations. He is teaching Dharma through the day-to-day activity. Tenzo needs to work in the kitchen every day and prepare not 3 but 2 meals a day. So Tenzo didn't have a time to read sutras or study philosophical text, but Tenzo's work is really working in the kitchen with vegetables and fire and water and other people. And his teaching that is the more meaningful way to study Dharma. Maybe more doesn't make sense, but saying equally important way of studying Dharma with Zazen and study in the Dharma hall, Zazen in the Zendo, but work in the kitchen. In this writing, he talks about example of kitchen, but not only kitchen, but all other parts of the monastery is the same. So another writing in Eihei Shingi is Chiji Shingi. Chiji means at the monasteries, there are 6 major administrators. And those 6 people try to keep the things going in the kitchen. Not kitchen, in the monastery. And Dogen kind of collected koan stories about how Chinese masters study Dharma and practice Dharma and have realizations through their working. So working is very important part of Zen practice. That is the point Dogen talked in Tenzo Kyokun. So what the sentence Uchiyama Roshi quote is, there is a saying in Dogen Zenji's instruction for the cook, that is Tenzo Kyokun. A foolish person regards himself as another. A wise man regards others as himself. So Dogen said there are two kinds of people, not only two, but some people who don't have a basic mind or bodhicitta, and who has bodhicitta. This saying, this sentence, is a part of the end of Tenzo Kyokun, almost conclusion of Tenzo Kyokun. You know, in the final part of Tenzo Kyokun, he talked about three minds. That is Sanshin, Kishin, Roshin, Daishin. Joyful mind, nurturing mind, and magnanimous mind. And right before he discussed about those three minds, he compared the situation or condition of Japanese monastery and Chinese monastery. Japanese monastery, its name is Keni. Keni was established by Eisai, who is the first Japanese master, Buddhist master, who went to China and practiced then with Rinzai Zen master and received transmission and returned. So Eisai was the first Zen master in Japan, and he established Kenninji in Kyoto. And this is a temple Dogen Zenji practiced since he was 17 to 23. So 7 years he practiced then at this temple for 7 years with Eisai's disciple Myo Zen. And from 23 to 27, he about 5 years, he practiced in China and returned from China to Kyoto and stayed at the same temple. And he observed how monks practiced at Kenninji after he returned from China, and he was disappointed. Let me introduce what he wrote about the Tenzo person at Kenninji. If we want to check Dogen's writing, this is Dogen's pure standard for the Zen community. This is a translation of entire Eihei Shingi. And Tenzo Kyokun is the first part of this Shingi. Page 45. He starts, after I returned to this country, to Japan, I stayed at Kenninji, so same temple, Kenninji monastery for a few years. That temple gave someone this position of Tenzo, so someone was appointed as Tenzo in name only. So someone was appointed as a Tenzo, but this person didn't really work as a Tenzo. In name only, without him really doing it at all. So he didn't do any kitchen work at all. He did not yet discern that this was Buddha's work. So he didn't think working in the kitchen, making preparation for the food for the people in the monastery. is a Buddha's work. How could he possibly understand and comply with the way? So he didn't think to be tenzo or work in the kitchen is something to do with Buddha's teaching and practice. Sincerely, we must have compassion for those who never meet a true person, true teacher, and recklessly tear apart the conduct of the way. So, Tenzo person in Keni didn't understand working in the kitchen is a Buddha's practice. So he said, we should have compassion to such a people, such a person. I saw that this monk never once supervised breakfast and lunch. He really didn't really work for making preparation or breakfast and lunch. Breakfast and lunch means, at the monastery they had only 2 meals a day. So that means he never went to kitchen. He entrusted it to a servant. Servant means a lay worker. He entrusted it to a servant without, I'm sorry for this person, to a servant without brains or feelings, and ordered him to take charge of all matters, large or small. So he just ordered to this lay servant to do all the work in the kitchen. The tenzo never went to see whether things were done correctly or not. It was as if there was a woman next door, and if he went to visit, it would be a shame or a fault. So his Dogen's criticism against this person is really strict. Anyway, this is the example, one example of later Dogen said, a foolish person regards himself as another. They don't care about what tenzo, even though he is a tenzo, but he doesn't care about tenzo's work. And he said that is a foolish person. And he continued about this person, but I don't have time to talk about the long criticism. But he said this kind of work, what this person is doing, is really meaningless. He said it is like entering treasure mountains and return with nothing, with empty hand, really meaningless practice. And after that, after he finished criticizing the condition of Kenninji temple, he talked about his experience in China. Probably until Dogen went to China, Dogen's understanding about Tenzo's work might be the same with this person. Because when, right after he arrived at Chinese port, while he was still staying in the boat, Chinese Tenzo person visited him. And Dogen had a chance to talk with this person. And that was very kind of eye-opening experience for Dogen until he talked with this Tenzo. He didn't think Tenzo's work is important. So he had a question. This person was quite old, more than 60 years old, and he looks like great person. So his Dogen's first question for him was, why don't you practice Zazen or Koan? Why do you work so hard as a Tenzo? What is the meaning? So he didn't understand Tenzo's work is meaningful as a Dharma. So probably at Keni in Japan, they didn't study the importance of day-to-day work as a Buddhist practice to study the Dharma, not in the text or in the thinking, but in actions or activities, day-to-day, nothing special activities. So about people in Chinese monastery, Dogen says, and Uchiyama Roshi quote is part of or conclusion of what he's going to say. As I observed the people who were devoting themselves for a year to the job of temple administrations or head of monastic departments in the various temple of Song China. Each of them maintained the three essential attitudes of the abbot. Whenever they performed their jobs, encouraging themselves to strive at their task. So he's talking about how Chinese Chinese Zen monasteries function. We studied Komyuzo Zanmai in May, and Dogen quote saying by Unmon. Probably who listened to my talk in May may remember what Unmon said. And Dogen also discussed about this saying by Unmon in Shobo Genzo Ko-myo. Ko is light, and myo is brightness. So I translate this expression ko-myo as a radiant light. And radiant light refers to Buddha's wisdom, not our wise thinking, but Buddha's wisdom or prajna, that is reality itself. Anyway, Unmon said about this word ko-myo. Once in a formal Dharma discourse, he said to the assembly, each and every person, without exception, has the radiant light. So each one of us has ko-myo, radiant light, Buddha's wisdom. When looked for, it cannot be seen, even though we have radiant light. But when we try to see, we cannot see. It is obscured in total darkness. So radiant light becomes total darkness when we try to see it. That means we cannot see as object because we are part of ko-myo. So when we see or when we think about it, it becomes the object of this person's consciousness. Then the ko-myo, I think I'm seeing, become something, the object of my thinking. And that is already not ko-myo itself. It's a, how can I say, it's a kind of a copy of ko-myo as an object of this person's thinking mind. That's why we cannot see komyo. So we are komyo, but we cannot see it. Fat is the radiant light is existing in all people. So Umon asked his monks, what is this komyo? And of course, the assembly did not respond. That means they couldn't say anything. And we can interpret in two ways. That means they don't know what to say. They don't really understand what Umon is talking about. And another interpretation might be they knew, komyo cannot be the object of our consciousness. Therefore, we cannot conceptualize it and name it. So we cannot say anything. That is why assembly monks kept silence. So I don't know. We can interpret in two ways. And Dogen like that kind of question and answer. Anyway, usually this talk is interpreted as they didn't know what the meaning of Umon's question. Anyway, then the assembly did not respond. Ummen, on behalf of them, said, so what Umon said to the monks as the answer of the question, his own question, what is radiant light? And Umon's saying is the monk's hall, the Buddha hall, the kitchen, and the three gates. These are only the names of the monastic or temple buildings. He picked up 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Monk's hall is usually in the west part of the temple. And Buddha hall is in the center. And the kitchen is this side, east side. And three gate means mountain gate or temple gate. Umon list up those only four buildings. But usually we say 7 Buddhist temples. 7 means another one is Dharma hall. Dharma hall is where the abbot or teacher gave Dharma teachings. And in the Buddha hall, Buddha was enshrined. And in the Sangha hall, monks sleep and sit and eat. So this is monk's hall. And this is a kitchen, not only kitchen, but all the offices of 6 administrators are here. And in the east part, a little separate from those important halls, this building is called Tosu. Tosu means toilet. And another side, western side, is called Yokusu. That means bathroom, bath hall. These are 7 major temple buildings. And usually there is a abbot room in the east side, probably usually of the Dharma hall. And there is another buildings that is called Todo. This is a place for retired abbot, the former abbot. And another side, there is a temple for, building for Seido. Seido is a respectable teacher who was invited, usually already retired master, retired from his or her own monastery, was invited as a teacher, usually kind of a senior of the abbot. So this is like advisors. So this is a basic structure of Zen monasteries. And what Ummon meant, in the monks' hall, people practice Zazen and eat meals and sleep. And they have ceremonies for Buddha. And they give lectures at the Dharma hall. And in this side, there is administrators' offices, including kitchen. And how monks function during the year is half, I don't know how many, but some part of monks, assembly monks, stayed in the monks' hall. But another group of monks working for various administrative functions. And in the ancient times, these people changed each year. So 1 year, people stay in the Sodo, focus on sitting and studying. And another group of people focus on working to support the teaching and practice. That is how Zen monasteries functions. So what Ummon is saying by mentioning those 4 or 7 monastic buildings means so all the monks are working in these buildings or monasteries. So this is a kind of a metaphor of interdependent origination. So this is the Interdependent. And depending upon where monks stay, they have something to do. So when monks stay in the Sodo, they focus on studying and practice Zazen and so on. And when they serve as administrator, they focus on day-to-day activities, and they take turns. Not only 2 of them, but all monks have some position, and they work. So each and every monk is a part of this Indra's net. So all people, each and every monks, have some function within Indra's net. But anyone, even probably abbot has a position to see what is going on in this entire net. But even the abbot is a part of this Indra's net. So because we are inside, we cannot see this Indra's net, the entirety of interdependent origination as an object, because we are all there. So even the abbot cannot see this Interdependent as a whole, because we are inside. I talked about the Sushi's poem about Mount Ru. When someone is staying on Mount Ru, depending upon where the person is and look the mountain, the shape of the mountain is different. So Sushi said, there's no way we can see the true face of Mount Ru. And what Sushi is saying is the same thing, because we are part of it, we cannot see it. That is what Umon is saying. Every one of us, all monks are radiant light. But when we try to see as object, and that means this is subject, then the object is already not this entirety, this reality itself, but it's a kind of a copy of the reality produced in our mind. So how the abbot see this entirety, and how monks in the Sodo see, this temple, or how administrators see, they see the different situation. So we cannot see this entirety. That is the point. But when I talked about Sushi's poem about the Mount Ru, I also introduced two poems by Wanshi and Dogen about the same mountain. And Wanshi and Dogen said, what he said, we cannot see as an object of those things. And yet both Wanshi and Dogen said, this mountain is my body. So this entirety is monk's body, whether monks are in the Sodo or in the kitchen or in the abbot room. They are all their body. And this, because everything is interconnected, this is really one kind of internet. So we cannot see this as an object. Still, the Wanshi and Dogen said, this mountain is our body. So this entire monastery is each one's body. But because of that, we cannot see this entirety as the object. Whatever we see is a kind of a conceptualization or part of a picture of the world created in our mind. That is why, I think, that is why Umon said, we are all radiant light. We all have radiant light, but when we try to see, it becomes dark. It's not radiant light when we see with our eyes and think or conceptualize using our thinking mind. It's not the reality itself. But when we are working there, we are really a part of this entire body. And the difference between Wanshi's poem and Dogen's poem is, Wanshi said, this is the self of each one of us. This is my body and this is myself. But difference between Dogen difference from Wanshi is, this is my body, but body is not a self. We cannot say this is one independent thing. this one monastery is simply a part of the entire Chinese society. So we cannot say this is the self, that fixed, independent thing. But this is only a part of larger interconnection. That is Dogen's poem. Anyway, to understand what Uchiyama Roshi is talking here, we need to understand this basic kind of idea or thinking, still thinking. So what I'm talking is not reality itself, but this is what I think. So don't believe. Anyway, this is how monks function or working within the Zen community. And that is what Dogen in Tenzo Kyokun so far described, how Chinese monks function in the monastery. And what he said, the three essential attitudes of an abbot. This, so not only the abbot, but all monks need to have those three essential attitudes of the abbot. Probably abbot is not a right translation. The original word Dogen used is juji. Ju means to stay or to live, and ji is maintain. So stay and maintain. And as a Zen or Buddhist term, juji really means abbot. But probably because Dogen said all of them, each of them, they performed their job. So all of them need to have these three attitudes of juji. So probably Dogen used this word juji more kind of broader meaning. That is not only the abbot, but all people in the monastery is staying and maintaining. So this is the same with our small temple. All of us, in a sense, is an abbot, because all of us live here or practice together and maintain the Buddha Dharma. And after this, Dogen continued, benefit others. So all monks, depending upon their positions, every one of them benefit others in their own, through their functions. Benefit others, which simultaneously gives abundant benefit to the self. So we benefit others. Each one of us do something, offer something to the others in this community. And that is that practice of offering something is the benefit of ourselves. By offering or by working for the benefit of others, we benefit ourselves. So, and when all monks stay there and practice together with this attitude to benefit others, to make contributions, and that making contribution is the way I benefit myself. If we have, or every one of them, the monks, have this attitude, then this community is really a community of Dharma. Make the monastery thrive, so the monastery become more active, thrive and renew its high standard by all beings, all members working together to help each other. The standard of this community is getting higher in terms of Dharma. Aspire to stand shoulder to shoulder and respectfully follow in the heels, foot of our predecessors. So we have to make benefit ourselves and others at the same time. That is how we follow the trace of ancient Buddhas and teachers. This is how Buddhism or tradition of Zen Buddhism has been maintained and transmitted. But if we are not careful, any monastery or any community became like Keni, where the monks, the tendo didn't go to kitchen. That is the way the community lose its own life. And finally he said, clearly know that there are fools. This is Uchiyama Roshi quote. Clearly knows that there are fools who treat themselves as indifferently as others. And there are honorable people who consider others as themselves. Maybe this is enough. So this is what Uchiyama Roshi is trying to say by a quote only one sentence from Tendo Kyokun. And because Uchiyama Roshi often talk about this kind of attitude within the community, and also he wrote a commentary on Tendo Kyokun. When he said this one tense, we could understand what he wanted to say, what he referred to. And this came from Dogen's teaching. That's why Uchiyama Roshi doesn't need to explain, but he talks in a very kind of a contemporary ways without mentioning Dogen. So let me continue to read rest of the paragraphs. Some people say we are living in the age of indifference. This is in the middle of 1970s, 50 years ago in Japan. In the 60s and 70s, or until beginning of 70s, Japanese society was very chaotic, and all people had how can I say, conflict about others, conflict between people who like communism and people who liked America. So there are a lot of functions, very active. Even the school students were involved in politics, but that movements kind of finished in early 70s, and in 75 people become quiet, and they're just saying that this age is age of indifference. That means they are not so much involved and interesting in what's happening in the society, that they become more quiet and just work day after day to make money. So that is the meaning of the age of indifference. There are people who are as indifferent to themselves, not only to others or to the things happening in the society, but indifferent to themselves as they are to others. You know, people who are kind of disappointed about what happened or what didn't happen in the 60s and early 70s become indifferent about that kind of matters. They are completely mixed up. Actually, there is no such things as others. So Uchiyama Roshi is talking in Zen teaching or Buddhist teaching, there's no others. So here again, he's talking about jiko giri no jiko. One translation is the self, which is only the self. And this is important expressions in Uchiyama Roshi's teaching, but he doesn't explain what this means. So if we want, he's talking about this jiko giri no jiko, a self that is only self, in chapter 4 of this book, when he discusses about the world of intensive practice. So if you want to know what Uchiyama Roshi said about the self, which is only the self, means there's no others. And shortly, it means two sides. It has two sides. One is he used this expression when he discussed about how anti-cessation going on. He said they didn't use Kyosaku, and even the abbot, Uchiyama Roshi, sat facing the wall, so no one watched. So there's no interaction with others. That is one meaning of self, only the self. There's no connection or interaction with other people. That is one side of the self, that is only the self. And Uchiyama Roshi, or as a session instruction, he said, don't care about other people, but just practice yourself. This is one side of this word. And another side of this expression is there's no others, means when we sit letting go of ourselves. So not only the other, but this self as an object from other people also disappear. So the dichotomy, because self and others, subject and object, disappeared or cease to be. Then person, when we are sitting, this is the same as person and the community or monastery. Then the person sitting, letting go of ourselves, our thinking, then person sitting and this entirety is one thing. So this is self. So within this self, there's no others because others are included. So we are also part of this entirety of the community. So when we sit with other people during session, there's no interaction between individual people, individual persons. And also another side is all people in this zendo, sitting in this zendo is one self, and we are that self. So that means there's no others. So we need to see the two sides of these expressions. Anyway, Uchiyama Roshi said, to live out your life as that self, that is one with everything. The self that is one with everything. That means there's no others. Means to encounter other people, you should live out yourself in that very meeting between you and them. So during session, of course, there's no interaction with others. But here, Uchiyama Roshi says, not only during session, but when we don't sit and interact with other people, actually, we are still, our self is only the self. That means I am I'm not you, and yet we are living the same life. So we need to see both sides. So you should live out yourself in that very meeting between you and them. Another saying by Uchiyama Roshi is, whoever we encounter is me. That is the same thing. And he continued, Martin Buber, do you know Martin Buber? He was kind of popular in Japan 50 years ago. Martin Buber spoke of I and thou, T-H-O-U, thou. That means you. So his famous book is I and you, or thou. And Uchiyama Roshi is saying, the self that meets other people as part of I. I don't think I have read Martin Buber, but yesterday I read an article from Expedia, and it said in Martin Buber's thinking, this I and you are one thing, and between the relation between I and you, we have conversation, and we kind of develop or open the world of this as one. And he says another relationship is I and it. And so this it cannot be the part of me. This is something outside. So there's no way to have an intimate connection when we meet or encounter with things or even people as it or them. Then there's no, how can I say, this in Buddhist terms, there's not, how can I say, interconnection doesn't work. We set the wall or separation between me and them. So Uchiyama Roshi is saying, what he's saying, self is only self, no others. And what Martin Buber said, I and you is the same thing. I'm sorry, but I don't know it's true or not, because I don't know of really. I don't really know this person, Martin Buber. Anyway, what is most important here is the attitude of putting yourself in another's way. So in the case of the community, things, everything is connected with everything. What monks did do in the monks' hall, and what the monks in the kitchen is working are interconnected. if kitchen worker didn't do a good job, then monks in the sitting hall cannot eat. It's important eating, especially during session. If food is terrible, that is almost only entertainment during session. So it's really important, even if it's not delicious, luxurious food, but wholesome, well-cooked food is important. But when young monk make preparation for meals at Antaiji, everyone needs to be a cook in turn every 3 days. So when someone who had no experience of cooking did, it's really something we cannot be happy. So how we can benefit others, then benefit the entire community. Furthermore, you have to live out yourself as your own responsibility. So we cannot rely on others. This is one part Uchiyama Roshi is talking about this. Ultimately, development and backsliding depend only on you in whatever situation or condition of the community. That's our responsibility, and how we live, what we do. It really is pointless to say that you became rotten, R-O-T-T-E-N, bad, is become rotten because of your circumstances. It's not me, but the society is bad, or something like that. We often make such excuse. Or that your education is responsible about what I did. Or that the blame belongs to somebody else. So it's not my responsibility. The fundamental attitude of a practitioner must be to live out one's own whole life. To live out one's own whole life is, of course, same as self that is only the self, or in circular expression, selfing the self. And that is the attitude we need to develop as the Zen practitioner. You can spend your whole life oblivious of what's happening around you, or you can live your whole life with an aware mind. Aware mind is awakening mind, or bodhicitta. To live blindly is utterly meaningless. This oblivious or blindly is a translation of expression Uchiyama Roshi like, that is bokeru. Bokeru and sameru are opposite. It's like within a dream, we cannot see the reality as it is, but somehow we create our own picture of the world. So to live blindly is utterly meaningless. Body-mind, or way-mind. Way-mind is Dogen. Shin. Do literally means way. And this case, as a Buddhist term, this way means is a translation of Sanskrit word body. So Dogen is body-mind, awakening mind. So body-mind and a person who aroused body mind is called bodhisattva. The person who has bodhicitta is bodhisattva. So if we are Mahayana Buddhist and if we receive Mahayana or bodhisattva precept and take bodhisattva vows, we are bodhisattva. So body-mind is that mind which constantly reminds you to wake up in the real sense, means moment by moment, what is happening inside and outside of ourselves. So realizing that development and backsliding are your responsibility alone, endeavor to practice and develop. This is the end of this section. It's 11:20. So after his retirement, all his disciples, not all, but most of his disciples left Antaiji and practiced somewhere else. And in my case, I came to this country. It's a kind of difficult to say. It's not me, it's not my responsibility what things happening in American society, because I don't know how American people are working. But somehow, at least where I am, where I practice, I have been living in a kind of a small Buddhist community or Zen community. So I don't know what this entire society of the United States is working. And because I'm not a citizen, U.S. citizen, so I don't have right to vote. But somehow, at least I try to do my best to live together, people in this community, in a Zen community, what I can do to each and every person as a priest from Japan. And I only do certain things, and there are so many things I cannot do. So this attitude that to be aware and try to see, to find something I can contribute to make offerings. I think this is important. And to me, after coming here, to create a place where this teaching of Uchiyama Roshi and his practice of Zazen is my kind of a vow. So I have been practicing until 3 years ago. Now I cannot practice Zazen, but still I'm part of this community, and this giving a lecture or giving a Dharma talk and making translation and lectures, something I still can offer to this community. And not only this community, but through making books or through Zoom, many other people outside of this community can have a contact with Uchiyama Roshi's teaching or Dogen's teaching. So that is the only thing I have been doing since I heard this teaching from Uchiyama Roshi. Well, any question or comment?
Dodo-san, I have one question. It's from the Zoom, if it's okay.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Thank you so much for your class lecture today, and it's
Mm,
so nice always to listen from you.
mm,
I have thank you and read and everything else. I have rather one question which is connected with the Jiko as well in a certain sense. I can't practice Zazen like other people can because of my health. So I'm also connected with Jodo Shinshu.
oh,
And yeah, for many years, and I tried practice Zazen. It's just my health would let me, but I'm reading your books by Uchiyama Roshi and Koda Sawaki Sensei,
mm,
and I'm following everything Vasan Shinjin is doing. But also, I'm interested that there is a regarding you were mentioning today kindly about Jiko and how self does the self.
mm,
My question is, what is the role of the actual, could we put the role of devotional practice, something what we have, for example, in Jodo Shinshu as a shinjin, as a gratitude,
mm,
in actual zazen, as a
mm,
connection, as a something, for example, what Sensei Layton, Taigen Dan Layton said in Dogen's other power practice, zazen as other practice, as other power practice, and also Sensei Yokoyama, who was bishop of Iwoji Temple, and also the book which is coming soon, which you were, I think, a part of it, which is by Sensei Uchiyama, The Sound That Perceives the World, which is part of teachings on Kanongyo. So my question is, I'm interested, is there any part, like in Jodo Shinshu we have Amida, Amitabha, that we can actually include, and for people such as myself who can't unfortunately participate daily in a zazen because of different circumstances, is it possible actually that we can also include those devotional practices such as Amitabha and Canon in our daily practices and have them as a gratitude practices or sort of ritual practices, so to say? I'm sorry that it was so long, and that is my question. Thank you so much again.
it's a big question. Well, I talked about this before, but Dogen and the founder of Jodo Shinshu is Shinran. They are contemporary. Dogen lived in 1200 to 1253, and Dogen was older than, Shinran was older than Dogen, and he lived longer than Dogen. Dogen lived only 53 years, but Shinran lived more than 80 years old. Anyway, and in Japanese Buddhism, these two are two kind of opposite teaching. Commonly, people think, especially then Pure Land people think Zen is a self-power practice. Self means ourselves. We have to make effort by ourselves. But Pure Land Buddhism is other power, or tariki. Tariki means Amitabha Buddha's power. Amitabha Buddha, when he was a bodhisattva, he took 48 vows. And all those vows are already fulfilled because he is already Buddha. So all his vows are fulfilled. And one of the one of the 48 vows by Amitabha is when I became a Buddha, I established a Buddha land named Pure Land or Gokuraku. And whenever people who has a pure faith faces sin and only chant Namu Amida Butsu, means I take refuge in Amitabha Buddha, then I welcome all of them even they don't practice. If they have a faith, they can be born in the Pure Land. That is the basic structure of Pure Land Buddhism. So in Pure Land Buddhism, practice doesn't work. Only a faith is important to be born in the Pure Land. Because around this time, Dogen and Shinra's time, Japanese people believed that we are living in the Mappo. Mappo is the age of final Dharma, where only Buddha's teaching remains. No one practice and no one attain enlightenment. Therefore, faith is the only thing who can be born, go to the heaven, not heaven, but Pure Land. And Pure Land is not like a heaven. Pure Land is not like a paradise where people can be just enjoy their lives. But Pure Land is like a Zen center where they can focus practice without obstacles. All obstacles we have in this degenerate world. So we can practice without obstructions. So other power, faith in other power, Amitabha's power is only thing we can rely on. And Pure Land Buddhists criticize Zen Buddhism as a practice of self-power, that is Ji-Riki, self-power. That means, and their criticism is because we are lived in the age of final Dharma, no matter how hard we practice, there's no way to attain enlightenment. That is a kind of a common understanding of Pure Land Buddhism and Zen Buddhism. And from them, from Pure Land side, Dogen's Zazen is one of the Tariki, Jiriki practice. So they think this doesn't work. But actually, this is what Uchiyama Roshi said. What Dogen said when he talks about Zazen, and what Shinran said when he talks about faith in Pure Land, they are not so different. That means Shinran doesn't say our practice of chanting Nembutsu, Namu Amida Butsu, is not like buying a ticket to go to the Pure Land after our death. But Shinran said, when we have pure faith, we are already in the Buddha land. So our chanting of Nam Abhidhamma is not an expression of our wish, our desire to be born in the Pure Land. But in Shinran's teaching, chanting Nam Abhidhamma is an expression of our attitude, our gratitude that we are already helped by Amitabha Buddha and we are already in the Buddha land. So the way we live in this, even though this is a degenerate world, still we are people who have this faith, pure faith, is already in the Buddha land. So Dogen, Shinran's teaching is called not simply other power, but it calls absolute, dettai, absolute other power. Absolute other power means it's not the opposition or dichotomy of self-power. So this is only power. And when Dogen says about his Zazen, he says, we practice letting go of ourselves, forget about self and others. And in our Zazen, such a separation between self and others doesn't really exist. That is what Uchiyama Roshi said. This part I talked this morning. So our Zazen is not a self-power to make ourselves enlightened person. But according to Dogen, this practice is itself enlightenment or verification. So this is not the same as Shinran's Nembutsu. This our Zazen practice is not making reservation to go to Nirvana. But when we sit and letting go and live together with all beings within this interconnectedness, that is Nirvana already. That's why, Uchiyama Roshi, because he was weak, physically very weak person, he lived with TB. After his early 20s, so he was very weak person, and sometimes he couldn't sit because of the physical condition. And when he couldn't sit, he chanted not Nama Vidamutsu, but he chanted Nam Kanzeon Bosatsu. And when he chanted Nama, he said he doesn't chant using mouth, but he chant within him. So he doesn't make sound. But Nam Kanzeon Bosatsu is the same as Nam Amidabutsu. And he said, our Zazen is Nembutsu using our body. And Nembutsu is our Zazen, using our mind and mouth. So Uchiyama Roshi said, basically these two teachings are not so different. Of course it's different, but basically or essentially the same thing. I don't think all Buddhists, especially Pure Land Buddhists, agree with this idea or not. But that is what Uchiyama Roshi believed. Is this the answer to your question?
Yes, thank you very, very much, Todo-san. Thank you. And I agree with what you said. Thank you so much.
Uchiyama Roshi wrote a book about this, his practice of chanting Kanzeon Bosatsu. And the book was translated by, what is his name? I forget.
Howard Lazarini.
Howard Lazarini, yeah, a friend of mine. And it will be published in the fall this year. So if the book is published, please try to read it.
Thank you very much again. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Which is that we have an e-booklet coming out within the next couple of months that includes Todo-san's teachings about the intensive Zazen chapter of this book, Opening Him Thought, where he talked a lot about, in a more extensive form about the things that he's just mentioned here. He could talk about this for like 3 hours. So knowing we can't do that today and people are tired, let me just say that booklet is on the way. So in the next couple of months, please look for that booklet. The working title at the moment is Facing the Wall, Facing Ourselves. So check Dogen Institute and that should be available soon.
Okay, any question or comment, please?
I wanted to ask you about the function of the mountain gate in the life of a monk.
Mountain gate.
Yes, because that is one of the 4 buildings that is mentioned, but you omitted it.
Well, gate is a entrance to enter and exit also. So during the practice period, monks couldn't get out of the mountain gate. So we are kind of, how can I say, like imprisoned. You know, in Buddhism there is a word, I think in Sanskrit that means is sima. Sima is a kind of a boundary of sangha. You know, one sangha has its own boundary because, you know, in India, you know, there are, you know, they have big land. So in each district, they are independent sangha. And mountain gate is a kind of entrance to enter one sangha. Of course, the sangha, Buddhist sangha members can go visit another sangha. Then they need to go through that mountain gate or entrance. So when we enter this Dharma teachings, that is mountain gate. You know, there's another word called Homon, that is Dharma gate. Dharma gate means teachings. So all Buddhist teaching is a kind of a mountain gate we can enter to the Dharma. Does this make sense? Okay. Please.
I feel like there's a pattern in some of the teachings that we engage with here where something can't be seen, but it's known. So one of the examples you brought up was the radiant light, where you can't, once you try and see it, it goes dark, but somehow we know it's there. So I'm curious, how do we know it's there?
By reading Buddha's teachings. So as a kind of a concept or idea, we understand there's something called radiant light. Radiant light, Komyo, as I said, Komyo is radiant light and brightness, and this is with Buddha's wisdom. That means when we read Buddha's teaching, we can understand what Buddha said as a word or concept or image. So when we read or I read Dogen's Shodogen's or Komyo, I understand what he's saying about this one. I understand and I know such a concept. And this Komyo is a opposition of Mumyo. Do you know what Mumyo is?
I know who and who.
Same Myo. And Mumyo is no brightness. Means ignorance. Ignorance is the first cause of 12 rings that makes our life into samsara. So when Komyo is there, then Mumyo disappeared. So this means nirvana. And we know the word nirvana, but we don't know what really nirvana is like. And some Buddhist masters said we are nirvana and samsara are one, so this is nirvana. Then what is the difference? That is a question, but how we know is we know by studying or teaching or hearing someone's teaching, or seeing, witness some people's activities. There's something within their way of life, something different from my way of life. That is how we see way of life which is not based on ignorance. So we know because of Buddhist teaching. I think that is what I can say. But if we want to see it as object, then there's no way, because we are already inside of it. Okay. You have something to say?
Okay.
You raised your hand. Okay, don't mind. Anything else? Okay, can we finish? Okay, thank you very much.